Okay, brother, I think we can start. Thank you. Hi, Nara.
Morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. Bezerra Spiritual Healing Center respects all religions and spiritual traditions. Before we get started, I would like to ask Charles, our brother, to open with a prayer.
My pleasure. Dear friends, I invite you to join me in thought as we ask the spirituality superior to assist us at this moment where we gather here together in such a special day, where on this part of the planet we commemorate the Father's Day in the United States, however, reminding us of our contribution to the formation of every spirit that has been gone through here. But it is with a heart full of gratitude that we appreciate the opportunity to be here gathered in your name, Jesus, our brother, for another section of the studies of your teachings. And we appreciate the participation of everybody, physically and spiritually, that are here accompanying us. With your blessings, so be it.
Thank you, brother. That was sweet. Thank you. Bezerra Spiritual Healing Center is a member of the United States Spiritist Federation, and the beliefs are for the Federation, as well as the Center and Spiritism, are around scientific, philosophical, and religious principles. Emmanuel taught that knowledge and love are the wings for our spiritual evolution. Speaking, participation is important. Your mentor is supporting with insights from the speaker, reflection, and working along the week to sustain the energy you are receiving while here in the center. And the second part we will be doing today is hands-on healing. So there's some announcements. And you'll see in the chat, these announcements are already listed. So if you want to follow up, information is there. We have fraternal counseling every Wednesday by appointment only. Schedule your time slot for 4 to 7 Pacific time. You can talk with one of the BSH mediums that have an open heart to hear and talk. And there's an email address there for your request. We have inner transformation. The Emmanuel in the Book of Thought and Life told us that evolution demands that we develop new habits, that we detach ourselves from lower forms and walk towards higher stages of existence. Detaching old habits is not an easy task, so let's join hearts and forces to understand the tweaks that the high spirituality gives us so we can all succeed in this journey. This class is an offering from BSH in collaboration with Divine Light every first and third Tuesdays of the month from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. Pacific time with our sister, Sunshine Beck. We have a Spirits book study group, first book of Allan Kardec series that will unveil incredible details from the spiritual world through more than 1,000 questions. Every Thursday from 6:30 to 7:30 with our sister, Duska Sardik, available via BSH Zoom. Music for Our Spirit, which is the same web link, by the way, that we're at right now with the same meeting code and password. Music for Our Spiritist Soul. Music is the purest form of art. Join and participate in this credible expression of beauty taught by our brother, Mark Carlos. Same Zoom link and password. It's every Friday from 6:30 to 7:30. Then we have Introduction to Spiritism. Spiritism uncovers the path to the individual and collective progress. Even if you're an advanced student, this meeting is about giving and receiving. So join us every first and third Saturday of each month from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. Pacific time with our brother, Robbie Brown. Same Zoom meeting code and password. Spiritism for the Youth is a special way of bringing Jesus's messages to our children. Let's support our next generation in this path. This class is every second and fourth Sunday of each month from 8:30 to 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, presented by me, available, same Zoom link and password.
Ryan, can I add 3 things that we are doing? I think that I forgot updating the announcements for you. Sorry, so one is the daily prayer. So every day at 6 p.m. Pacific time, we get together and we do an emanation of vibration for the entire world. So everybody's welcome to join us. It usually takes 15-20 minutes. So everybody, please join us. We also have every Thursday at 7:30 the study of the book Happy Life from Joanna De Angelis, which is an amazing book full of great ideas and inspirations. So 7:30 Pacific time at Divine Light Zoom link, and I posted as well. And we also have the Spiritist teachings from the Gospel according to the Spiritism, live at Divine Light and BSH YouTube channels, 6 p.m. Also take usually 30 minutes, right, Sunshine? It's about...
Sorry, 45.
45 minutes. There you go. So everybody's welcome to join us.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Brian.
Thank you so much, Kiki. Appreciate that. So with that said, and of course, as soon as I needed to, I pushed the wrong button on my phone, so give me a second here, and I will pull back with the coming presentation now, provided by our wonderful sister, Andreia Marshall Neto. Andreia is a director of Feb Publisher and Lee Publisher in the dissemination of Spiritist titles. She's a secretary of the board for the Spiritist Federation of Florida and also of the Conscious Living Spiritist Group. Her topic today is On the Way to a World of Regeneration. Let's welcome Andreia.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Now I'm beginning to realize perhaps why you guys, some of you look so familiar. I know Sunshine because we are on Facebook, but I'm looking at the faces and I'm like, my God, I've either seen them when I went to California or I see them on Facebook, but maybe it's because this is the one that I have who is the love of my life. It's the one that I always pray to, who I feel is a paternal figure in my life. So when Regina went like this and I saw her background and I saw his photo, I said, that's why. Maybe there is a connection of Dr. Bezerra de Menezes who unite his children in the spirit plane. And he is actually part of this amazing book that by July will be made available in English. So perhaps another activity that the center might have, which by the way, kudos to all of the activities that you guys have ongoing. This is amazing to see such movement happening with so many noble and wholesome classes being made available, and also the emanations that you guys do and the prayers. This is all very amazing. So maybe this can be another activity that can be added to your program, because this book is not a book to be taken lightly, right, Kiki? There is a lot of, I see Charles also doing this, perhaps you also read the book already in Portuguese. It's a book that is very serious in content. And I do believe that Manuel Filomena de Miranda, who is the spirit author, allowed it to be made available to us for whomever is in sync with the benevolent spirits, if for some reason being attracted to hold the book and read it. For example, when it's available in English, it's because we have reached a certain spiritual maturity where we are able to assimilate what they're bringing us, and not only assimilate it, but not be fearful of it, but rather feel empowered. For we know the healing of our planet, spiritually speaking, depends on us. Also, we are working side by side with the benevolent spirits when we realize that we are to answer the calling that was made to us a while ago. So we were joking with Regina that either we know each other from a past life, but perhaps we know each other because we have been participating in meetings in the spirit realm, whether as workers or just learners, students, to receive the information that is being presented, not only to empower us, strengthen us, but perhaps also so that we can become a tool of consolation and hope in the hands of the benevolent spirits when we encounter our brothers and sisters in humanity. So, of course, we don't have a lot of time to present the entire book, right? Every chapter is, my God, every chapter deserves at least 3-4 hours of discussion. I was talking to some of our friends from our Spiritist Center here that it deserves an entire discussion group to, with time, discuss a lot of the content that each chapter brings, because not only does it offer us a view of the planet during the pandemic, but also the assistance that started even before the pandemic hit us full force. But it also talks about content related to obsession and also spiritual rescue that takes place in combining the incarnate friends, such as the medium Malvina, an amazing medium, her capability of channeling truly hardened spirits in this rescue assistance for the suffering, because they're suffering. And this is another compassionate view that the book offers us in trying to understand a little bit about the drama that assails the hearts of these hardened spirits. But it also shows us the entire work of these benevolent spirits in the hospitals as well, in attending to COVID-19 patients. And not only that, the patient's own role in the healing process as well. So the book opens with question 792 of the Spirit's book, in which Kardec asks the spirits, why doesn't civilization immediately effectuate all the good that it can produce? And the spirits answer, because humans are not yet ready or disposed or able or ready to obtain that good, which particularly to me got me reflecting a little bit about this answer from the benevolent spirits. Why is it that civilization is not yet ready or disposed, available to the good, right? And perhaps it answers to how we've become accommodated in our own way. And this is why the work of inner transformation that Bezerra Healing Center provides is so important, so that we can start proactively participating in this aspect of obtaining the good, of being the good, of being love in action at a moment that is so important in our existence right now. And we are talking about the transitioning of our planet, and we already know about that. As a matter of fact, it seems like the Spiritists really love this, right? We are in a world of trials and expiations, transitioning to a world of regeneration. But what does that mean, really? And what is our role on that? I like to joke with our study groups that when we reincarnated prior to, it's as if we were given the golden ticket. Anybody watch Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory? The golden ticket, right? Or perhaps we were given access to the VIP role, sitting in the front of it, observing this change that is happening while being invited to partake in it. And we have two choices. We can either sit back and watch and miss out on inheriting the earth as we find in the Beatitudes, or we can actually proactively participate in it and truly not miss the chance that was given to us. So Manuel Filomeno de Miranda, he starts by saying the following: we are at the beginning of major changes, and correlated phenomena will demonstrate that the times announced by the scriptures and confirmed by the immortal spirits have arrived. And from this, we understand that he's basically talking about information that is found in the Genesis, Miracles and Predictions, according to Spiritism, specifically chapter 18, when Allan Kardec states pretty much the same. The time set by God has come, we are told everywhere. in which great events is going to occur for the regeneration of humankind. But then he will say, by what words, by what sense can we understand these words? How can we understand it? Is it something mystical and supernatural, or is there a rational explanation for all of this? And from the revelations that we have already received, well, which revelations? Well, contained first and foremost in the Spiritist codification, and then supporting literature, such as the one we have from André Luiz and Chico Xavier, and then, of course, Divaldo Franco most recently with this book, as well as Planetary Transition. And then we have the other part of the trilogy, which is The Dawn of a New Era and Spiritual Disturbances, which is also really good books to read and analyze and reflect upon. We are going to find that we are subject to progress. We as a humanity, our globe as well, our planet as well. And when we study about fluids and when we study about our own perispiritual body, we are going to understand the conditions in which we will need to be properly dressed, if you will, for the world of regeneration, which is in direct effect with how we are going to be spiritually speaking. And so they tell us about how science has provided us with information that our globe has progressed. And of course, we do know about this. And every time there is an earthquake, we know about the axis of our planet changing. As a matter of fact, a world of regeneration has different climatic characteristics, if you will, where the things that we see happening right now with earthquakes and the different climatic differences and what have you, it's not going to be part of that world. So we know that every time our planet shifts a little bit in the axis, eventually it's going to be like this. And so the climatic condition is going to be different as well. And this is all part of the planet that eventually we are going to inhabit. And I think all of us, I'm going to say it's safe to say that all of us are on the way of inheriting this planet, because it's Sunday morning to you guys, it's 10:20, and you're all connected, being very patient and very charitable in listening to me, presenting perhaps information that you guys already know about. So here we are. Morally, we are progressing, we are developing, we are extracting the good that we have within us, those seeds that eventually are going to blossom and truly be that plant, that flower that beautifies our pathway. We are doing that. And we all have those moral seeds just waiting to germinate. Some of it already sprouting out, some of it already seeing a little bit of the green. But one of the things we know is that as any fragile plant, and of course I'm talking symbolically, a plant searches for the light because it needs that to grow, those nutrients, and so do we. So we count on the messages from these missionaries that come to us, in which Manuel Filomeno de Miranda is going to explain that it is as if they actually bright stars, they come and shine down in the darkness to be able to guide our steps. And how blessed are we to be able to have this information available, and not because we are privileged in any way, but perhaps because we had made many prior commitments prior to diving into the flesh, where we will be, in the words of Bezerra de Menezes, faithful to the one who entrusted us this reincarnation, the responsibilities, the commitment that we made to Christ before we reincarnated. And of course, we can count on our paternal friend Bezerra de Menezes to help us get there. So with Spiritism, what we see happening in our world today, cataclysms, disasters of all sorts, collective trials, even deaths, are basically part of this moment that our home is facing, where changes are taking place. And Allan Kardec is going to say that although we see a lot of that happening, and yes, those are signs of time, one of the things that he says is very significant. It is what he's going to say, that it is no longer the insides, the entrails of our planet that is being stirred up, but that of the heart of humankind. So the tectonic plates of our own hearts shifting, making changes, and it creates a lot of times this feeling that things are out of control, that it's fearful, that there is an earthquake that is happening, but yet we are no longer children. We have reached a maturity, spiritually speaking, where we are able to take a step back and observe what is happening and see what we can do to be part of the solution of our world. So here's what we are going to find with Manuel Filomeno de Miranda in the beginning of the book. As he continues in the introduction, he says, tragedies of all kinds are shaking the physical world, currently plagued by COVID-19 pandemic, showing the fragility of the human being on the pedestal of its illusions. Let's think about how profound this statement by Manuel Filomeno de Miranda is. The fragility. See, Paul stated that human beings were more fragile than evil. So we see here Manuel Filomeno de Miranda using pretty much the same expression, showing the fragility of the human beings while they are on the pedestal of their own illusions. The devastating and fatal virus demonstrates the need more than ever for love and solidarity to survive the chaos. And so when we look at it today, have we truly been putting forth this feeling of what he stated, love and solidarity, in order to survive what is happening in our world today? You don't need to answer. Perhaps it's an answer that we can do individually, as much as I did when I opened this book, when it first came out, so thirsty for information about COVID-19, yet we were already being made ready for it. When we were asked to isolate and stay home, right, many of us either took the time to try to analyze what that meant, symbolically and physically also. Many people did not do that. They were bored. They were having conflicts with their immediate loved ones because they weren't used to being with them 100% of the time. And so the COVID-19 brought a lot of opportunities to work on the aspect of love and solidarity, sometimes even immediately at home. I'm not sure in California, but the divorce rate in Florida, I mean, really, the rise, the number of it was absurd in 2020. I'm not sure if you guys had the same effect there in California, but we see how our own homes were in a state of fragility so intense that it began falling apart. And so one person might ask, why would God allow for such devastating factor to take place? And so Allan Kardec asked that question on 737, what is the purpose for God inflicting humankind with calamities, with disasters, with destructive factors, in which the spirits answered to Allan Kardec that it is to make things arrive at a better order more quickly and accomplish in a few years what would otherwise require centuries to take place. This is something very profound as well, right? Because if you look at it, COVID-19 hit us in March of 2020. I remember very well because I was in a state of, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not going to say dumb. I was naive. I was being naive that we weren't going to be hit with COVID like we were seeing in Europe or other countries. I thought everything was under control. So when events started canceling, we were about to hold our biggest spiritist event of Florida, where it was an encounter of 600 hearts. And I'm like, no, they're not going to cancel that out. No, that's not going to happen. But they did, right? They did. And so it's been a year and a little bit. And supposedly, by watching Divaldo Franco's talk, we understood, and also reading this book, that it was going to take a couple of years for the COVID-19 to have its noble effect on humankind. So let's do a little brief presentation on the book itself. So Manuel Filomeno de Miranda approached Divaldo last year saying that out of compassion for humanity, they wanted to write a book. They wanted to bring information that would not only enlighten, but also offer support. And I'm not sure if some of you already know, but Divaldo has been suffering from a herniated disc for the last 3 to 4 years. I have been suffering from the same, and I'm 43. Divaldo is 91, And I just had lumbar surgery. So, I mean, it's very painful. I don't know how Divaldo does it. I sit for 3-4 hours, and at the end of the day, I'm in agony. I mean, the nerve is burning my feet. So let's imagine Divaldo at that moment in this very fragile state of being where you don't sleep. You don't sleep, so you're always tired. And we all know how sleep is something that we need in order to be healthy. And yet Manuel Filomeno de Miranda asks him to do this. He doesn't impose. And Divaldo accepts that noble invitation from him out of love for humanity as well. If you watch the movie Divaldo Franco, The Messenger of the Peace, his mother finally says that she understood that Divaldo was here on our world to be of service to others. This paternal figure that we have in this medium who out of love goes through the most sacrificial moments of his existence to be able that we are left with something, even if it's the last thing that he would do, because he keeps saying that he is nearing his time on the earth. And that to me is like selfishly, I would feel it would be a huge impact on us. Some of us that have already seen how much his assistance has been in developing groups. And not only that, the type of support that he has offered our Spiritist Federation here in Florida. I mean, Divaldo Franco, it's not that he's on a pedestal, but he has offered us a lot of support along the years and continues to do so. So yeah, so he accepted that invitation. He would ride out sometimes into the dawn without tiring, without being overcome with the pain that he was feeling. And so the book came out in 5 to 6 months. Basically, this is how fast he was able to bring this book for us. And it was released in December of 2020. So it's a very, very, very recent book. But how did it all start? Well, basically, one thing that a lot of people do not think about is what happens in the spirit plane when something such as COVID-19 is about to take place. So let's back up a little bit. In the book Planetary Transition, Manuel Filomeno de Miranda offers us what happened prior to the 2004 tsunami. Prior to it hitting it, they had already established station of benevolent spirits that would be there to receive, to rescue, to help out the masses of beings who would discarnate in that collective trial. A lot of us don't think about that. Does it only happen after the accident has happened, like a plane crash or something like the tsunami? No, it's even prior. They know that certain things that do take place needs to be supported, because we will never be alone, in tears, unassisted, without the support of the benevolent spirits when something comes to shake us up to the core, where tears are going to flow freely from the painful moments that sometimes we face. And so they're there with us along the way. As a matter of fact, if you read the book No Solar, we are going to find a very cool specific situation in which prior to the World War II, there was a clarion that announced what was about to take place, where many people would discarnate from the war. And the very same thing happened, according to Manuel Filomeno de Miranda, in 2019, in September specifically. He told Divaldo that the very same type of clarion resounded in the spirit plane, summoning all of the benevolent spirits to be ready for what our planet would endure, which is a lot of pain, right? All of us here have been affected by COVID, some of it with direct discarnation of loved ones. This feeling of helplessness from not understanding what is happening. This weekend, Brazil marked a 500,000 death that we see, and we're not going to get into the political aspect of it because we know that everything truly is under control. And there are collective factors that take place that is according to the great law that govern us all. We're talking about the divine laws, but more specifically the law of cause and effect. And there is a reason for all of this that takes place. What we are supposed to do is not miss out on the opportunity to try to extract the lessons that is trying to bring to us all. And basically, Manuel Filomeno de Miranda is going to bring us exactly this information on the book. So he said that a sound summoning from the higher planes to service in assisting the earth was made. And so they developed different types of groups, not only led by what he mentions in the book, the governor of Brazil, Ismael, that benevolent spirit who is responsible for the Brazilian nation, but also other spirits who are responsible for other nations of the entire world, which shows us that this entire event that has hit our planet was nicely orchestrated with support groups from every nation of our world. The United States, Brazil, Colombia, whatever we may think of a planet, none of the countries were unsupported by what was going to start taking place in the spirit plane and to the physical plane as well. So Manuel Filomeno de Miranda starts out by giving us a glimpse of how our planet looked from the beyond. He would say, from our community in the spirit world, we watched the terrestrial plane being slowly enveloped by a massive mantle of darkness. We also knew that the denseness of those somber spiritual fluids came from the harmful mental emanation of its inhabitants. Let's think about this. He describes it as if it's a storm that was taking hold of our planet. That was the spiritual condition of our planet, in which he said that much of that somber, dark, spiritual fluid was a direct productivity of our minds, of our feelings, of what we were emanating from our own hearts. And Allan Kardec in Genesis will say something along the lines that we, with the qualities of fluids and fluidic energies, here something that we need to really study to understand. But he says that we have the ability to modify the very psychosphere in which we live in, based on how we think, based on how we feel. So when we enter a spiritist center such as the Bezerra Healing Center, and we feel that wholesome feeling of tranquility, of serenity, of peace, of hope, it's as if we are immersed in those type of wholesome fluids that uplifts us, that encourages us, that makes us feel whole yet again, because of the emanations that take place from the two sides of our world, the physical and the spiritual. And we understand very well how that operates. But when we read something like this, one needs to ask, what is the quota of responsibility for the major problem that has been created in the world with COVID-19? We are going to understand a little bit about that. He stated that Divine Mercy had several options to try to lift our planet to a higher evolutionary level without the need for tears, as it occurred several times. Yet, we, human beings, let ourselves be consumed by the pursuit of immediate pleasure and gratification without the respect for life in its many various sacred expressions. And he is going to tell us what that means. He says, disrespect for nature with the pollution of the air, springs and rivers, the sea reduced to a dumping ground of waste that destroys its fauna and flora, the general psychosphere stained by the continuous waves of hatred and moral degradation, brutal behavior with the increase of femicides and crimes of a primitive nature were responsible for the tragedy that was about to strike our planet. Let's think about that for a second. There is a reason why the entire globe was hit and not just one specific area of our planet. He's talking about the condition of, or better yet, the quality of the inhabitants of our planet. And unfortunately, much like it happens in a household, when you have siblings that are out of control, usually the parent will put all of them out for timeout, right? And then Kiki will be like, but it's Andreia and Regina who's creating the commotion. Why do I need to partake in it, right? That's what mostly happens at our home. Well, God is an educator. He's our Father. He is here to educate us, to try to bring us to a moment where we understand that there are consequences for our actions. So are we being punished? Well, not exactly. We were the ones who created that situation. God has nothing to do with us. And this is something that people need to understand and see God and his own idea of just love and charity. There's a law that governs us. As much as we can, we need to try to understand it so that we can deviate from this idea that there is punishment. So what he's going to say is that it took an invisible element to shake us up, an enemy, one common enemy, where the entire world will try to eliminate. But not only that, isolating us and making us go inside, perhaps we would realize that the change, that the healing for COVID-19 was within ourselves, was within our own ability to make a change. And so we start understanding a little bit more that every action has a consequence and every problem has a solution. And sometimes we are part of the problem, but most of the times we are going to be part of the solution as well. And this is where Spiritism is so empowering, because it makes us feel no longer hopeless, helpless. We know that we have the ability to make a change. He states, the spirit world communities that would work in Brazil under the command of Ismael obeyed a specific schedule, the same occurring in different nations of the world according to their own customs, traditions, ethics, and religious beliefs, if any. It's like the opening statement that I read there with Brian, how Bezerra Healing Center also respects all of the different creeds, because we see that the Spirit's own worries and concern and preoccupation is our happiness. And they will utilize every type of language of the heart, of religiosity, to help us get there. And this is where religiousness, to me, it's the most beautiful aspect, because we find that the Creator really does not allow for barriers or language. I went to see, Kiki sent me the connection where the passcode was love. So love is the universal language, right? Where all beings can assimilate the message of love that is available to it. So the book is going to show us that the higher order spirits that contributed for the progress of humanity would work alongside of healthcare's professionals. Not only that, it's going to show us the aspect of healing, in which Manuel Filomeno de Miranda talks about the need of mental balance, where he tells us the need for unconditional trust in God, that he tells us that we need to go back to that prayer that is filled with love and actions, that we need to be in a charitable type of nature, where because of all of those factors combined, we are going to be able to produce antibodies that is going to help us in the process of not becoming contaminated with the COVID-19 virus. And of course, we know that every case is a case. Of course, we know that Euripides, like that benevolent spirit who discarnated from the Spanish flu, of course, it's not a spirit that was supposed to, for any reason, to endure the suffering, the trial, but it was his time to discarnate. And so he got the virus and he discarnated. A lot of times this happened also with COVID-19, but a lot of times those who did get the COVID-19 and discarnated, it was because they were not able to produce those antibodies. Their inner world was filled with hatred, intolerance, the inability to love, the inability to understand prejudice of all sorts, which in turn produced what Joana de Angeli is going to call psychical viruses, vibrants that are inside, contaminating the physical body of the host of the person who emanates such feelings. And often those who are unguarded in picking up that emanation would also produce the same type of psychical viruses within. I know this is a little bit complicated, and hopefully if there's a time we can answer any question about that or open up for debate. But basically what Manuel Filomeno de Miranda is going to tell us is that the virus would be more cruel than a war, because it would actually reap hundreds and thousands of lives in the natural process of moral transformation that the earth needed right now. So what would be the job from these benevolent spirits in working with us? So he answers, the job would be to inspire individuals in maintaining a healthy conduct, to embrace, yes, the safety guidelines proposed by health authorities, but also to try to reach and develop the upright moral behavior in trying to bring a peaceful domestic coexistence. He said that those who practice the gospel at home, that weekly gathering that we know that is so important for the purpose of creating defensive vibrations for the families, they would seek to inspire the family members with trust in God, charitable work, especially related to how we actually respond to others. So they would try to inspire us to be more patient, to be more tolerant, to be more forgiving. And this is something that they would try to do to help us through the moment of the pandemic. So for the last 2 minutes, if I may, Kiki, I don't know if it's too much, okay. Bezerra de Menezes brings us a message in this book, and I'm going to read what he says. Why is the pandemic here? And so he answered, he said, divine providence responds to the pleas of sufferers who feel the need for peace, and thus allows the rectifying pandemic to help them wake up to their reality as immortal beings. Listen to this. He's basically stating that the pandemic came as the answer to our pleas, to the prayers that we make, so that we can reassess and examine ourselves, returning to the paths of love that have been paved with hatred and pride, vices, and the gratification of senses. He continues, similar to previous instances when pandemics threatened human existence and then disappeared after fulfilling its objective, the current one carries a selective program for spirits to prepare for the advent of the new times of the world of regeneration. Certainly, thousands of beings who are in the same vibrational pattern of the virus will be affected, but they will be redeeming other wrongs in order to adjust to the order that will soon be in effect on the planet once everything calms down and the law of progress works more. All those with an immune system susceptible to the infection as a result of their moral conduct will experience the sickle of discarnation, preparing themselves to follow the progress of the planet as soon as they rectify their wrongs and find themselves in a condition to grow and attain wisdom. With the huge migration of benefactors of interplanetary humanity, which will assist the aspirants in the attainment of the everlasting light of redemption, spiritual renewal will take over all corners of the world like a rising spring, blessing the ashes, getting from them the flowers and color, beauty and harmony for the new festive landscape. The Master will gather his disciples and enlighten them even further, so that any remaining shadow is dissolved by the incomparable clarities of the good and the union of souls at the great banquet of peace. In the meantime, suffering will still shatter many lives, which will awaken in the throes of death for future experiences of fraternity, in a long chant of humility and appreciation for life. And then he finalizes in saying, never disregard the excellence of prayer that strengthens the vital centers and invigorates the inhibiting energies killing the virus. Let's reread that. Never disregard the excellence of prayer that strengthens the vital centers and invigorates the inhibiting energies killing the virus. The transmission of spiritual fluids through the passes, through the laying of hands, the healing hands, is also of vital importance at any stage of the disease, especially when applied by morally sound individuals with healing capabilities. It is essential to bond at all times with Jesus, the divine physician of the soul, and his messengers devoted to the therapeutic charity on the front lines, protecting those in danger of contamination. The divine support does not forsake them, even when their lack of religious faith does not help them with their own line of defense. From this very short, brief introduction, we can really start to appreciate the power, the message that is behind this book, calling all of us to own up to the problem that has been created and also wish to participate in the solution and the healing of our planet, which is going to reside in each and every one of us. And as much as possible, trying to really disseminate this message so that collectively, this emanation that is going to come from the hearts of those aligned with these principles provided by Bezerra de Menezes, the healing is going to take place a lot sooner. And this basically is the presentation that I wanted to bring today, Kiki, and throw it back to you guys for opening discussions and comments. And I hope that you have had enough interest so that when the book comes out, you may get it and perhaps even create a study group to really study the message behind it.
Thank you, Andreia. I was sitting here listening to you, and I couldn't help having this image of sitting next to Andre Louise, listening to a mentor who has come down from a higher dimension to speak to us, to inform us of the greater picture of what is going on, and the continual message that we always hear in Spiritism: inner transformation, and everything has a purpose. And we always need to work. And no matter where we are on our evolution, we are always being impacted by what's going on around us, and the virus affecting us all. And it awakens us all to a greater, higher understanding of who we are and our connection with everything around us. And that the ones who have fallen to the illness, it's because of their vibration, and that they're not in tune with the regeneration that is occurring here on Earth. And they were taken to another area and in spiritual world where they can work on, I guess you could say, their defects so that they can come back. They are ready now for this stage of regeneration. And what a great opportunity, and that we should be so grateful that we are still here. So we are in tune with what's occurring in regards to regeneration here. But once again, we constantly have to do the work. And the greatest tool that we have, and you mentioned it, is talking to God, prayer. And wherever we are, whatever we're doing, and however we want to talk to God, there is no right or wrong way. It's just a matter of doing it. And as we do it, we become more connected to the center, God, which is within us, the Christ consciousness. Your presentation was beautiful, and we're all mediums, and we all are part of Spiritism to understand our mediumship, our gift, in the many ways of, all of us are different types of mediums, and we have this gift. But truly, how to use that gift is through going through this inner transformation, because moral evolution is the greatest thing in order to wield and use that mediumship through hands-on healing. So thank you. I bow to you. Thank you for your light today. I appreciate your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you very much.
Andrea, I also would like to thank you very much. It was beautiful and inspiring. I particularly, because I'm reading and almost finishing the book, I am particularly interested to hear all the discussions, because I agree with you that it deserves a lot for us to discuss and to reflect, because as you mentioned, we have to understand the role that we want to play in all the situation, right? We can just sit back and watch the transition to happen, or we can understand the role that we have to play, inspiring, giving hope, being charitable, more tolerant, and like so on and so forth. But I think that the most important thing that hit me when reading the book, and also when you were speaking, is how important that we strengthen this unconditional trust in God. Because when we have this unconditional trust, we can truly be in harmony with everything that is going on, knowing that the fire is here, and it's not for us to rebel against that. It's a source, it's a tool, and it's there for a purpose. So if we get in harmony with the virus, then we start understanding that with love, instead of getting like frustrated because we cannot see family or because we cannot see friends, and so on and so forth. So I think that it was beautiful. And I think that the message that resonates for me from the talk that we have today, besides getting thirsty for us to have the discussion group with the group in English as well, is also about strengthening the importance of us having this unconditional trust in God, and understand what is the role that we want to play in this moment. So
Indeed.
thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you
Kiki.
very
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you so very much. Finally, we have you here with us for so long. And this is the beautiful presentation about this book that Kiki and I have been reading too. And what a blessing opportunity that Divaldo, through Divaldo, the Spirit brought to us as spiritists, the opportunity to understanding this situation through the book and through the message and through the opportunity that we are all having together in almost 2 years now.
Yeah.
Bringing everybody together, now have a positive way to look into this this situation that the pandemic brought to all of us all over the world, uniting us, breaking patterns, and bringing to the families to living closer to each other, because the world was, before this all started, the world was going so crazy, so individualism and separatism and materialism. Now everything was so over controlling. And I was seeing, and I remember asking in 2019, going to a meeting for Christmas with my family reunion in Brazil. And I was so sad. I was so sad seeing the situation, how I was doing the people. And my prayer for Christmas, on Christmas days, I asked Jesus, please shake this planet. the humankind needs to be shaking in this moment. We need to wake up. We need to be more united. I don't like this situation that is going right now. And I just, we evaluate in the positive way. And of course, it's a lot of pain, a lot of learning, a lot of suffering, but it's a great message there for us. I really appreciate Manuel Filomeno de Miranda bring this teachings for all of us. As you say, as soon as the English book will be translated, we will be ready to make a studying group. Thank you so very much for your presentation.
Tanya, so good to hear from you. Please give Greg my best as well. So the book is translated, it's finalized, and it's in its final editing phases, which is why by next month it's going to be available. And hopefully we can even have a live, with our beloved Divaldo about this, because the desire from them was that the book be translated into every language, right? So we know that Spanish and French and English were, and German also were the languages that were being translated into. So we are very happy for that. But thank you also. It's really great to hear from you, Tanya. We miss you.
Yeah, thanks, sweetheart.
Andrea, what's the title of the book in English?
On the Way to a World of Regeneration.
I feel really good knowing that we're going to finally hear about what's going on in the spirit world and how they're working with the planet. And I'm excited to hear how they actually work with the diseases or whatever, even COVID or in the laboratories, and how they help the interacting with us. I mean, we read about it in every story. There's behind the scenes on how you reincarnate the body, how the body is formed, what effects you'll have or not have from whatever it is that you've done. So this would be, to me, absolutely fascinating. And I look hecka forward to being in a group reading this book together. I really, really do. I can't wait. I can't wait.
Brian made a comment that is very true, that we are all mediums, and they do show how the benevolent spirits inspired the scientists in the labs to be able to come up with the vaccines, right? And of course, there are situations, a lot of people questioned about its validity because it came out so soon. But then when we think about how the spirits were inspiring the scientists and how this COVID-19 actually was a dynamic force to get brilliant minds to work towards creating something good as opposed to creating something bad, which is the vaccine. So I was very happy to read that. And I confess to you, Regina, that it was one of the factors that made me even more confident in having the vaccine myself. And of course, this is not a campaign for anybody to be vaccinated. We have to respect each other's thoughts about that. But yeah, they did inspire the scientists in the lab.
For the last few weeks, I've been hearing snippets of scientists speak. And there was this one on the other day, and it was because some people were attacking Fauci. Now, I don't follow all of them or any of that. I'm not one of those people. But what he did say was Fauci is behind a whole lot of the science behind different vaccinations. And he had been working for 12 years on creating vaccinations. And I'm like, what? And so it really lined up with hearing that they've been working behind the scenes in the invisible world with the scientists. And he said, we really wish that politics was out of the scientist profession, period. Because we're not political people. We're scientists. This is our profession. It was just good to hear, and I just put two and two together with that. I'm like, wow.
Did you know, no, there was this scientist, and I forget her name now. I'm going to try to find it and send it to Kiki so she can send it to you. She was of Portuguese parents, and she lived in London, and she was responsible for recognizing the COVID-19 virus back then. She's already discarnated, and I keep imagining this woman in the spirit plane working side by side to inspire and guide scientists and coming up with a solution. It is so beautiful because it talks about the spirit of collaboration that takes place between the two spheres of life. It makes me feel so happy to know this information, that truly we are sent here in this school, which is our planet Earth, and we are here for the test, for all the lessons that we have learned, to see if we already assimilated, but we have the masters behind us trying to encourage us and guide us. And I don't feel alone anymore, right? It's no longer fearful. We know that there is so much light surrounding our planet. And that's another condition. It's trying to get people in contact with that light so that they can stop thinking such pessimistic, negative feelings that actually contribute for that dark, dense matter or fluids that Manuel saw on our planet. So it's a storm and it will pass. And that's the beauty behind it. But they are with us. They are with us.
And Greg was saying, thinking about the advance that the science is getting now, how many illnesses will be healed right now. He thinks so positive about this vaccine came so quickly, and they found this in a short time. He said, this is a great moment for the science.
Indeed.
And it's amazing. I think have a lot of positivity on that.
Indeed.
I want to say one more thing about a scientist that was on, and he said this. It was him and another guy talking, and they both didn't believe in God. But this is what he said. He says, even though I don't know what else is out there or how many other worlds are out there, he said, but I will say this. Even because I don't know doesn't mean it ain't possible. He says, this is an area, when you ask me about, are we alone out there? This is where I take this to the ministers. You're gonna have to go to the church, because I think they might be on to something there. He said, but for me, I don't know. I said, that is a brilliant answer. No denying. He just doesn't know. I thought it was just brilliant. Science. He's a scientist. That was great. Thank you so much. And this was really, really good.
Can I ask a question? Yeah, Andrea.
Hi.
So, hi, I'm Teresa. It was wonderful, your talk. Thank you. And it was very inspiring. And I guess my question is, I was kind of looking at the things that were said about what kind of where the virus came from, the cause. And I really appreciated the idea that it's global, so we can, stop this blaming of, the Chinese or whatever. So my question though is, I understand the virus in terms of like people like us who are already, wanting to make this change, make this turn and buying in. But I'm thinking, so for pretty mainstream society out there, I mean, so I'm just trying to follow their mindset. If they're not buying in to respect nature or to change hatred or change their morality level, so then they go and get the vaccine and they're protected. It seems like a short circuit of the process. Do you kind of follow my mindset? So I'm thinking outside of spiritism and, religions even, but maybe more, people who are more materialistic and, a part of this fluid production. I don't know. I guess I'm just thinking outside of the box a little bit. Like it's a little bit like it doesn't make sense to me. So does that mean that, I don't know, what does that mean? Because like it seems like a short circuit. If the virus was here to help us to look within, because I don't know, it'd be interesting if people taking the vaccination, would they say yes, because now I understand and I need to look within? I don't know. I don't think most people, I think a lot of people are just really plain scared. I can't speak for other people, but what would you say to that? Do you have any response, or would the book respond in any way?
I think there is a great number of people, Teresa, that do have a very materialistic view of what is happening. But I go back to how little we understand and conceive divine providence, right? So a lot of these people that, and I'm going to say it myself, it's not you, but people that I would judge of being very materialistic and perhaps missing out on opportunity to see what is happening on a greater scale, either because of how they grew up or because of their own customs or beliefs or lack thereof, is something that I remember that Divaldo Franco talked to us about. And this is actually a discussion that we just had in the study group of our book, Missionaries of the Light. Because a lot of times we can't see the how far each soul has come to. Like, I can't see how far I've come. I can take a look at my life right now and recognize a change that took place in the last 5 years, in the last 10 years. And God, am I glad it has? Because I wouldn't like the person I was 10 years ago to be here today. I don't like her. I like this one. I like the experiences that brought me to be where I am today, the changes that I have made. But the spirits see the changes within me from previous existences and how far I have come in this life. And the same applies to these other people that are not aligned with the information that we have. They have progressed, they have evolved. And sometimes the law of cause and effect related to the COVID-19 doesn't apply to them in this existence. Yet, it's that teaching that we have about the, oh my God, what's that word in English? Kiki, joio e trigo.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You would, yeah, no, I don't know what to say, but like the way that you would separate like white and black, those are two different things?
Yeah, maybe Greg can translate it for me, Tanya, if he's listening right now. The joy in the tigers, it's missing my mind. Where we are put together on the planet to grow together so that those who are still lacking the type of information can learn from those that do. So in this different of social culture that we are immersed in, we learn from each other. We pick up a little bit from each other, and we do evolve. Even those that are still filled with hatred. I'm going to give you an example. I see people that are still acting in such a way that is so selfish, that is so self-centered, right? But why am I judging them? I don't know where they're coming from. I don't know the changes that have taken place within them. I haven't seen their trajectory, their pathway. I haven't. And so Givaldo was talking to us about that. He said that he had this person that he knew in the Spiritist movement who was not at all assimilating the teachings. And so the person died. And before he knew it, Givaldo saw this really bright, benevolent entity coming to the mediumistic meeting. And who was he accompanied by? That person that he judged to be so lacking in qualities. So he said, that to me was a lesson that I can't judge somebody because I don't know their path. I don't know how far they've come. And that's something that only the benevolent spirits know. So sometimes it seems like there is a little bit of injustice happening where really good people are discriminating from the COVID. Well, why aren't the really rotten ones being gone yet? We don't know about that. Divine Providence has a ruling that escapes our senses because we are still so immersed in matter that we aren't able to perceive and understand it yet. So I don't know if that answers to you, but that's my opinion on some of your observation and how I have the same observation sometimes, and I try to make sense of it.
Yeah, no, I think that's it. I think that's part of an answer. I really do. Thank you. And also, I had heard that some people discarnating right now is because they're going back to help. It's not because, whatever, couldn't, yeah.
Or just because it was time for them to discarnate.
Yeah,
so,
and it happens to be during COVID, right?
And thank you for saying that, because Givaldo said that a lot of people who discarnated from it, they are arriving the spirit plane with such assistance on their being welcomed because they're heroes. They're participating in this huge part that is part of the regeneration of the world. And it's not because it's just the wicked that sorry for saying that, it's a judgmental world, but those that we consider to be weak or evil or negative or pessimistic or hateful, they're not. Sometimes they're doing exactly that. They're going back to assist as well, or just because it was their time to leave the planet, right? We see some people that, like in the book, you have two people of the same family, that in how many cases we see this happening in the hospital, or like a mother and a daughter, both of them are with COVID, and one doesn't know that the other has already discarnated, and they're there in their own battle, right? And they're enduring that. Who's to say that the one who's already departed is not going to be there to be welcoming the one who is arriving in the spirit plane? And that's a beautiful view that we have as well.
Okay.
Nothing is out of control. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for your thoughtful answer.
Oh, so Tanya answered separating the wheat from the tare. That's it. Thank you, Tanya. Appreciate it.
All right. So as much as I'm loving the conversation, I think that we should go to our second topic. Brian, you wanna close the first session, brother?
And
Sure.
Andreia, please come back soon. We love have you with us. Please come back.
I hope to come back and see you guys very soon. I do.
Thank you, Andreia. Thank you for being the vessel that you are. Hearing everybody talk makes me want to sit down at a coffee shop and have a cup of coffee or whatever you want to drink and just sit and talk. I really look forward to the moment that we can all do that again. So thank you, everyone, for your availability. Thank you for the presentation, but also thank you for all being here and participating. Together, we've set the vibration for this presentation and for this education for our continual inner transformation. Let's remember to do the work, and that was what was coming from this presentation today. So we'll take 5 minutes, and don't forget to bring your water back, and we'll come back and we'll have a meditation. So right now, It is California time, 11:18, so we'll start back up at 11:18. Thank you.
Shall we do 2 minutes break just for us not to go too far? Just quick comeback? No?
It's okay with
Yep.
me.
All right. So we start on the 15 of the hour.